Once again, you already know what it is. You already know where you have reached the number one collaborative podcast anywhere in the world of professional wrestling. Clash of the Podcast presents a very special edition of Hubbonomics. We are in the building once again to bring you the very best in professional wrestling. Conrad is here. I'm here. That means EPW is here. Hubbard Wrestling Weekly is here. And this is, again, the Clash of the Podcast production. And we're so fired up to be able to bring it to you right here on Thursday, October 3rd, just 2 days before WWE's Bad Blood. So instead of doing a Bad Blood preview, which, by the way, you could always check out on the EPW channel on Clash of the Podcast, the show that we did last week, this is more of a steel cage retrospective. So we want to kind of give you guys some history as it relates to the history of the steel cage, from Big Blue to, Hell in a Cell, to the more traditional cage, even further back with Ric Flair and Harley Race. But first and foremost, I want to introduce you guys to the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Conrad Cushman. What's up, bro?
What up, everybody? They know who I am at this point. If you don't know, then you haven't been around too long. Me and Sean host Clash of the Podcast live every Monday, 6:05 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking cage matches, man. It's going to be interesting. I know that I've kind of shared some of my beliefs on them before, but I think we'll surprise some people with some of the stuff we have to say today.
You already know, man. You already know. So listen, man, let's just jump right into this thing. And also a big reminder that tonight, one of our viewers, is going to be able to win a code to be able to watch Wrestle Dream. AEW presents Wrestle Dream next weekend, and we will be giving you a code to watch that pay-per-view courtesy of Clash of the Podcast and Triller TV. So make sure you guys are ready for that. So I think, Conrad, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, let's just jump right into this. The steel cage match of the modern era, say that tongue-in-cheek, we're talking about 40 years ago, almost 50 now, but I would say Flair and Race kind of like put the steel cage on the map. I mean, you could go further back to possibly Jimmy Snuka and Don Morocco. What say you?
I would go Jimmy Don Morocco for us, but we're New York kids, so
Right.
It's not fair. Sean is in the city, I'm in Buffalo, but that's the match I always hear people reference. I think of Mick Foley jumping off of his roof and referencing the off the top, the splash, and that's what sold everything for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would view as the numero uno.
Well, I was back in 1983, Madison Square Garden. The Intercontinental Championship was on the line. Don Morocco successfully defended his championship against Jimmy Superfly Snuka. But then, after the match had come to its conclusion, Jimmy Snuka jumped off the top of Big Blue, what we know affectionately as Big Blue, as you can see behind me and Conrad right now. Jumped off the top of Big Blue onto Don Morocco, one of the most iconic moments in professional wrestling history. But if you fast forward a little bit, matter of fact, 83, same year, Ric Flair just had become the world heavyweight champion in the NWA. He had lost the championship to Harley Race, who would now be the 7-time world heavyweight champion. And I guess the transition to Ric Flair hadn't fully taken place as of yet. However, in November of 1983 was the plan to transition the mantle of being the man onto Rick Nature Boy Flair. And they dubbed it a Flair for the Gold, Ric Flair's quest to become the 2-time, many people forget he won his first championship against Dusty Rhodes in 1981. But after losing that title to Harley Race, swung it back, ran it back, I should say, and inside the steel cage, a more traditional mesh style Conrad steel cage for the world championship at Starrcade 83.
Yes. And Clown, I see you. He definitely said Jimmy jumped off the chain link. Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you. Jumped off the chain. Thank you, Clown. I thought it was Big Blue, but you're right. It was the chain link. Thank you, Clown.
Yeah, Big Blue wasn't until, that was technically the Vince Jr., and I'm just calling him that for making him mad purposes. Mm-hmm. That was his era. So, yeah. But Flair and Harley Race was a classic battle. And I do agree with what you said. That was the real passing of the torch moment that they always reference back. No one really references the first title win. So astute comment by you. I have to tip my cap if I had one here somewhere.
Appreciate that. Well, my commentary about Starrcade 83 kind of trumps or overrides the mistake I made about the chain link with Jimmy. Thanks to you and Clown. I appreciate you guys. But the fact of the matter is, when I think about the early stages of steel cage matches, I guess the reason why Big Blue is so prevalent in my mind, as I matriculate backwards through the annals of time, my thing is Big Blue represents, and Conrad, correct me if I'm wrong, as late 80s kids going into the 90s, the most memorable cage matches of our youth, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's fair for Big Blue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because when I think about WrestleMania 2, when I think about Hogan and Boss Man, Saturday Night's Main Event 89, Hogan and Orndorff, Saturday Night's Main Event 1987, and one of my favorite matches of all time, even though the wrong guy won, and I will say that until the day I close my eyes for the final time, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart in 1994. Those matches resonate with me. I mean, if you even want to take it to Diesel and Diesel and Bret Hart in 95, or excuse me, 96, as the Taker and Diesel feud was about to kick off. What's your biggest and most influential memory in your mind about Big Blue?
You have to frame this a certain way for me, because when I think of Big Blue, I think of pain.
Okay.
Pain for the wrestlers, but I understood why they had to do it. You got to remember who was the focus at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked us, when did Big Blue begin? I think it was Joel in the chat. Shout out to Joel. I want to say it was like 86, maybe 85. I'm sure they did some test runs beforehand on a house show, but WrestleMania 2 is the first time I could think of seeing it. Or no, you said in 85, right? Orndorff?
87 was my first recollection of Big Blue.
So then when was, hold on, Bundy and him was 86. So then 86 might be the
first one I saw on video was Orndorff and Hogan in 87, but Big Blue was definitely 86 with Bundy.
Yeah. So I think of pain when I see it, but I also think of my childhood. And what I was saying was Hogan was the focus at the time. Hogan was built up. Well, I don't know what he really was. He's probably like 6'5", 6'4", but they built him at 6'8".
Right.
Welcome to the land of wrestling, where Cap runs wild. But
where Cap runs wild, I like that. Oh, that might be another shirt. Brother.
Cut your own thing at the top so you could rip it.
Dude.
Getting jacked, dude. I got the lifts in, brother. I'm 6'9" tonight.
I love it.
Hogan couldn't fit his feet into the cage. I'm not saying he was a small man by any means. He's still big, but your feet. So I wear a size 14 shoe. I've never told anybody that. But I can't fit my feet inside fence holes very easily. It's just not going to work that way. Like how other people got hot fences. I'm like, that's probably a bad idea for me. Right. I'm probably going to break some toes. So you have to be careful with that. And I don't think Hogan's foot would have fit into what. Did he ever say his shoe size? He probably was like, I wear a size 16E, dude. And I've been taking my vitamins and saying my prayers. And me and Brother Brutai are going to climb the cage. So he needed
hanging and banging.
He needed the holes to get through. But I also think from let's think visual, Sean.
Absolutely.
A visual standpoint, it stands out to children, number one. It's great for toys. It's easy to make that instead of, how do you make a chain mesh fence? Okay. Mm-hmm. You could make toys out of this easy and people could fit in it, go out, and you can see through it because the bars are so big. Camera shots can get right in there. It's the size of a camera, like fit it in. Pause. Play.
Pause for sure. Lord have mercy.
Play for sure, too.
All right, so check this out. Revelation right there for Brother Conrad. I am blown away by what you just said because I never thought of that. That is a major, major factual bomb you just dropped. Hogan's foot could not fit in a mesh cage. Hogan was the champion. Hogan was going to be doing predominantly most of cage matches. Therefore, they redid the cage for Hogan's benefit. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Big Blue is Hogan. So Big Blue is Hogan's cage. Actually makes me mad now. Oh my God.
I do the blade job, dude. I'm going into it a couple times. You're going to go into it like 20. All right,
That
brother.
is crazy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable.
And you also have Matt Lopez drop some knowledge in the chat there. I don't know if you want to drop it on people.
Let's actually go from the top. We need to give everybody a shout out. First and foremost, we got to give Clown a shout out. He's in the building first. He says, I love it. Wu-Tang Pain. What y'all thought y'all wasn't going to see me? Wu-Tang is here forever. Mother, whoa, let's go right now, man. Let's go. I like that, Clown in the building. M. Leezy for Sheezy. Hello, good evening. I'm excited to talk about some Steel Cage classics and possibly a code for Wrestle Dream. No doubt. I hear that, man. Obviously, giving a shout out to me. Appreciate that. Clown is in the building saying no worries about the slight delay. XG Dub is in the building. We appreciate they taking my girl out. Got y'all on during the drive. We appreciate you, XG Dub. Have a good time with your lady, man. Joel's in the building. We appreciate you saying great retrospective. Talking about football. Conrad letting everybody know he's got the Bucks tonight. Whatchamacallit? Oh, Clown once again giving us some really good insight, correcting me, and I appreciate that about Jimmy coming off the chain link. Joel also saying he's got the Bucks tonight. Clown said Big Blue wasn't introduced until King Kong Bundy. And okay, so 86, that's the answer right there. So 86 is when Big Blue made its debut. Let's see. Joel saying he grew up on Big Blue. WCW Halloween Havoc was a chain link and Chamber of Horrors. I'm with you. King Kong Bundy, Clown says, couldn't climb the chain link, so they redesigned the Big Blue for Saturday's main event. Okay, so Hogan and Bundy, maybe to both of their benefits, maybe? That could be true.
Yeah, I mean, because how was Bundy going to get out? He couldn't,
Yeah, facts.
Land of the Giants.
True. Joel says, oh, by the way, Hogan and Andre back in the day, had a chain link steel cage match at Shea Stadium.
There you go.
Wow, things are coming. I'm old. I'm old. Joel says, why is the cage so far away from Sean, but Conrad is by the entrance? Does Conrad have a better chance of winning in Hell in a Cell this Saturday over Sean? I think so. I think Conrad's gonna win. Big shout out to Joel for bringing up Curtain Call in 1996. That was a cage match between the World Wrestling Federation champion Shawn Michaels and challenger Big Daddy Cool Diesel, where, as we all know historically, that Triple H and Razor Ramon entered the cage to celebrate and say goodbye as they were on their way, Diesel and Razor, that is, to WCW. We'll get back to some more of these comments pretty soon, as Legoat says, appreciate you being here. Conrad, the lineage of World Wrestling Federation's cage matches is fairly strong. And we'll double back to the next incarnation of WWE Steel Cage lineage in a brief moment. But before we do, let's go to WCW for a moment and let's talk about War Games and let's talk about the legacy and I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler while you give your synopsis of, in my opinion, WCW's failed attempt to make steel cage matches mean something toward the end. They started off hot. War Games was a tremendous concept. Matter of fact, it still is to this day. But WCW kind of evolves, or in my opinion, devolves into some really weird style cage matches as the years progress. What say you?
I think they tried to follow what Dusty had taught them. Like, he gave them kind of a blueprint. And listen, I love Dusty Rhodes, but Dusty Rhodes had some crazy ideas too. Mm-hmm. One will never forget. What was the cage match with Muta and Flair and Funk? It was, Muta and Funk versus Flair and was it Sting?
I believe it was Sting.
Chamber of Horrors.
Chamber of Horrors.
Yes, Muta's got to use the mist to blow out fire because the pumpkins and stuff caught on fire. It was just a mess. And they used to have those big cages. They had the original chain link, but then WCW went to, like I said, these big cages. They had like Piper in some of them sometimes. You remember Savage when he jumped off the one?
Absolutely.
Dude, we talk about Adam Copeland getting injured in an AEW cage match. How did Macho Man not get hurt doing that?
Because Macho Man is awesome.
Bro, Macho Man is lucky, is what I say. There's no way. I know after that he went home for a couple weeks, had to ice those knees because there's no way. They had those rickety cages for a while, and similar to the ones I mentioned with Funk and Muda. And then I'll say I won't take your thunder because I know what you're going to talk about. But and we can even talk about the one with Hogan and Savage as well. But WCW, great concepts, not well executed later on. They were bugging.
Look, man, there's just three words that clearly define my opinion of WCW ladder matches. Cage matches. You have two things. You have War Games, which is the heyday. And then you have something called the Tower of Doom.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Bro, I mean, look, there's innovation, and then there's you're just being stupid. This was the most ridiculous concept. If I'm not mistaken, Conrad, do not hesitate to correct me if I'm wrong. Please do. But I believe the concept is that you had to climb to the top of all three cages. And the reason why I actually mistakenly just said ladder match is because you have to climb the cages, if I'm not mistaken. If it was a title match, that is. And retrieve the championship belt from the top of the third tier cage. Am I right?
Yeah, you're referring to the one that had like DDP, Jarrett,
David Arquette.
The former world heavyweight champion, David Arquette. Yes.
Wow. I mean,
Clown calls it the ready to rumble. Yeah, that was the time period. Yeah.
I mean, Tower of Doom. You're a multi-million-dollar company, and you feel that you need to reinvent the wheel by coming up with the Tower of Doom?
They were desperate, man. That's all I can say. They were desperate. I think one of the worst ones was the one with Hogan and Savage. Now, listen.
Halloween? No, not Halloween. That was Piper. And
Uncensored.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Listen. The Dungeon of Doom era of WCW is something special. It's cold. Like, what? Okay, what are you talking about?
Hilarious.
Hogan. So they basically reunited the Mega Powers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they can say Mega Powers, but they reunited the Mega Powers, and they beat the entire Dungeon of Doom. Did nobody care about no Kamala, Earthquake? They just beat up Sullivan. Dave Sullivan probably got beat up in this match. Ted Turner probably took a big boot in this match.
Ed Sullivan, the TV show host, got beat up in this match.
Everybody got whomped in this match, and they had way too many people in it. Arn Anderson's trying to help. The Horsemen are trying to help. I'm like, dang, dude, y'all gonna get beat up by two guys this badly? Just ridiculous.
Just ridiculous. And it made steel cages. To me, this made steel cages a joke.
Matt just put up, what about the Chamber of Horrors cage match? That was, I think he's referred to the one with, who mentioned it before? Cactus Jack getting electrocuted in the cage with Abdullah the Butcher getting electrocuted.
Shout out to Legault bringing up Dudley's and Hardy's cage match. That was pretty good. That was pretty good as well. But listen, man, the bottom line is WCW just didn't know what they were doing. And it's coming from a WCW fan. I mean, War Games was dope, but I guess you're right when they said they were getting desperate because War Games, I think the greatest creation of Dusty Rhodes ended up being kind of an afterthought because of the bad things that the company was going through at the time. And we know that when the Tower of Doom came out, Conrad, that it was probably within a year that the company went out of business. Am I right?
Yeah.
Maybe two tops.
I wouldn't say two even.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if they made it a year. I'm trying to think of when he won it in April of 2000, maybe a year, maybe because they bought it by March. So yeah, I'd probably say it's 11 months, and then see ya.
There you go. But look, let's focus on the good things again. Let's kind of switch back to, first of all, big shout out to WCW because they are the originators for all the young viewers out there of the War Games match that we all know and love to this day. But switching gears back to WWE. You have Undertaker and Shawn Michaels feud that just needs to be taken to a higher level. You know, you have the dead man who's very upset with Shawn Michaels for hitting him in the head with a chair, aligning himself with Triple H, Chyna, and Rick Rude. You have an Undertaker who recently faced Shawn Michaels at Ground Zero, where the entire locker room came out and it became a big schmoz. And there was no definitive winner, actually no winner at all. So they decide, you know what? We need to put these guys in a steel cage, but not just any steel cage. We're going to put a top on it. We're going to go back to the chain linked again, and we're going to have something called Bad Blood pay-per-view. And the highlight of Bad Blood is going to be a Hell in a Cell match. Now, before we get into that, if you have a pay-per-view called Bad Blood and the pay-per-view's main event is supposed to be a Hell in a Cell match, or the most high caliber match is supposed to be a Hell in a Cell match, I probably wouldn't put a mixed tag match or a tag team match at the end of that pay-per-view and have the Hell in a Cell open up the pay-per-view. But that's just me. But I digress.
No comment.
For the people who are watching, you know what I'm talking about. How about this? How about this for Deja Vu? Pay-per-view called Bad Blood. Major storyline is a Hell in a Cell match. But back in 1997, that was the main event. But in 2024, look it up, guys. Anyway, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, the first ever Hell in a Cell. Conrad, talk to me.
It's a classic. It's a classic. It's kind of one of those moments where I can feel my fandom really taking over. Like if someone had to ask me what was my peak fandom, it was probably like that 97 period, like 97 to like 01. I remember vividly. I knew everything. I was into it. Everybody was into it back then. And yeah, Shawn Michaels going heel, like you thought he was going to be your hero forever. And they were just changing people like, nah, Shawn's a jerk, man. Can't trust him. He's coming out dressed like the Undertaker, you know, back during this time period. It's that might have been the Royal Rumble one, but they started a feud all from an accidental chair shot. It was an accident.
Accidental.
Yeah. He was so mad at Brett, and then all of this comes back into play throughout.
I've got two words for you. I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. My two words are, I'm sorry.
Sorry, dead man.
There you go.
So yeah, this is a classic cage match. I believe I want to say the idea came from Jim Cornette, if I'm not mistaken. And Jim Cornette plays a big part in the debut that happens too. Have you ever seen the footage of him showing him how to be the character he was going to have?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Very smart man, James E. Cornette. He has his moments where it's a little quirky, but he has a good wrestling mind. Let's just leave it there.
Yeah. So they ended up doing this match. I wish Rob was in the chat. He could probably recite the entire Paul Bear promo that he's alive, your brother.
I love that. Big shout out to Kane. That was a really cool debut. And Kane, people forget, like, Kane's like an OG. Like, Kane was around for like 20 years.
Yeah, longer even.
Yeah, Kane did his thing, bro. Like, to be able to survive Isaac Yankem DDS, shout out to him.
Yeah, he hung in there for the time being. I'll keep it just to the wrestler version of him. Kane makes his debut, and basically the character he was supposed to portray in this, and I know we're going to probably get deeper into what the cell means and everything, but Kane makes his debut, and he is essentially Michael Myers. He was like an unstoppable beast. Yes. Even as a kid, that was probably the last wrestler that I would look at, and I was like, I don't know, I'm a little scared of this dude a little bit. The head tilt even when he didn't understand something, and the sitting up and then the quick turn look.
Yeah, he took the Undertaker stuff kind of to another level.
Mm-hmm. Using the tombstone and everything else, similar height. They matched up face to face. Something that you could believe. So they told two great stories in one with this Hell in a Cell match.
And it meant something because at the end of the day, you realize obviously Shawn Michaels one of the greatest of all time, Undertaker one of the greatest of all time, and then this newcomer. That, by the way, that was at a time where WWE would actually present debuting people the right way. Doug is in the building.
Those were the days.
Yeah, Doug is in the building. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Appreciate you being here, man. Big shout out to Clown talking about the chair shot heard around the world. Raven versus Dreamer in a cage. Wow, that's dope. Nice reference there, Clown. Appreciate you. But yeah, at the end of the day, and also, oh my God, M. Leezy for Sheezy bringing up something when they combined Hell in a Cell and Big Blue for the Kennel from Hell match. Oh my God. Yikes. Anyway, once again, for anybody who says WWE always does things the right way, Kennel from Hell, just remember that. But yeah, so, I mean, great match. I mean, it definitely started the lineage of what we now know as Hell in a Cell, one of the biggest matches in WWE history. Some have fallen on, rough times, and others are tremendous. Like, obviously, the first one was awesome. And then you have the greatest one of all time, in my opinion, which came the following calendar year, June to be exact, Mankind versus Undertaker. Let's just get to what we're here for. And that's him going on the top of the cell. Like, that was insane.
I was going to say something controversial. I think this is the most memorable Hell in a Cell match, but I still think Shawn and Taker's the best one. Because they found reasons to do things. I thought they laid it out better. Mankind's, so I'll never forget the day. I've told the story a million times. If you've heard it before, I'm sorry, but you got to hear it every time. I got to my buddy's house. We got done playing basketball. I remember we were washing our hands. Hands were dirty from playing outside basketball. We sit down, and so my wife is friends with her cousin is who I'm talking about. So she was over there as like a kid. We're all sitting over there, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yo, who ordered King of the Ring? And we never knew. No, to this day, no one has ever admitted in her family who ordered that King of the Ring pay-per-view.
Wow.
But we came in, and right when we walked in, I remember hearing the Mankind is coming down. And then the room became engulfed with people as they're climbing up to the top of the cage, and you just watch Mick Foley get massacred. For whatever reason. I've seen Cactus Jack do brutal things since I was a kid, but that was one of the craziest stunts he ever pulled off. Like, I'll never forget that moment watching that match live.
Clown says, my God, he's broken in half.
Crazy. And in those days, now when we watch wrestling, can I ruin it a little? We know that there's crash pads there and stuff. There was nothing underneath when Mick Foley did this. He is insane. Insane. Look, the tooth. I thought that was a booger when I was a kid. I was like, oh, it's just a booger.
And by the way, that through the top of the cage was a mistake. But let me tell you something about the throwing off the top. You know what? Obviously, shout out to Mick Foley. Godspeed, Mick Foley. I'm glad you survived, Mick Foley. But you know who also had to been the most nervous guy in the entire building? The Undertaker. I mean, if Mick Foley gets thrown off that cage and never gets up, does Mark Calloway know how to live with himself? Like, what happens then? Like, how do you go on? Like,
print the shirts. Like, whoa. Yeah, I don't know. In that match, didn't he break his ankle or something too, or he busted his ankle?
Yes, he actually came into the match with a severely damaged ankle and ended up breaking it during the match, slipping through as the top of the cage started to buckle. Oh yeah, it was nuts.
I don't get it.
Can we just say? I mean, we can say the D word on air, right?
Yeah.
Somebody could have died, bro.
Seriously.
Died. I mean, let's call a spade. Somebody could have died in that match, and I'm so glad that it didn't work out that way because it turned out to be one of the greatest, but it could have been a tragedy, bro. But I mean, it goes down, in my opinion, it's the greatest of all time. Conrad says the original Hell in a Cell is the greatest of all time. So how do you take that to another level? After you've had Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels and Mankind flying off the top of the cage from The Undertaker, and after you have, a six-pack challenge with Kurt and Rock and Austin and all these guys, how do you then take it to another level again? what can World Wrestling Entertainment, or what can the wrestling world do to then make something inside of a metal structure mean even more? I don't know. How about you put together a big pod of steel and chain, and then have individual pods on the side where people are locked in, and then have two guys start off and let it be a 6-man elimination match that's now known as Elimination Chamber. What the heck was kayfabe Eric Bischoff, but in real life, WWE thinking?
I don't think they were thinking. The rumor. So the rumor was, the story with that is Triple H wanted it to be War Games, and he got told no.
Mm-hmm.
He had a plan, like, I'll have a team, maybe Sean has a team, and then we come together and we'll wrestle. Well, Gomez, aka Vince McMahon, doesn't like the idea of not being able to sell more tickets, because this was in the Garden, baby. We're in the Garden, so we had to do this right.
By the way, I was there.
Oh, you were there live for it?
Elimination Chamber, Survivor Series 2002. I was in the building.
Classic show, bro. Classic. Like, one of their all-time best Survivor Series shows, in my opinion. And they were sitting there, and he said, well, we can't think of something. So I'm sure, okay, you want your chain link fence match and all that. I think he said, let's build up instead of out. Dynamic standpoint.
McKinney, we see you.
What up, McKinney? So, yeah, that's how I think it just came to be. And as you could tell by hearing the bumps, I'm sure you heard that night, people's tracheas getting crushed because they didn't think of, well, maybe Rob Van Dam needs to fly off the top of this cage. Well, it's kind of awkward if he can't go up and elevate himself. You had people's bodies hitting it. Now, today, it's a little more tame, but back then, pain, straight pain on the metal grates.
To your articulate point, first ever, right? So this is where, like, we work without a net.
Yeah. That's to say the least.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? One of the rare times, well, actually they did it often back then. Doesn't happen much now, but WWE got this one right, by the way. The right guy won the match, which was astonishing.
I was happy.
Oh, man. HBK winning that match with those ridiculous brown tights, which were terrible. And wrestling in cowboy boots, which made no sense. But
Dutch boy haircut.
Oh, man. But thank God HBK won. The crowd went nuts. I was one of them. I was so excited to be there. Looks like Emily for Sheezy was in the building as well. Unbelievable. Wow, very cool. So look, Elimination Chamber is what we know to be, a pay-per-view now. Let's kind of go on the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about Hell in a Cell and Elimination Chamber collectively, Conrad. And let's talk about what I think is taking a little bit of a step backwards, wouldn't you say? I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's like a little meh. Now, again, that could be us being, spoiled brat of fans, right? But yeah. I'm just saying, like, little meh, like, over the last few years.
I think the biggest mistake was making a pay-per-view be the place to have the match. Mm-hmm. You can't make how do I want to phrase this? You cannot have a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell and then let's put some Hell in a Cell matches on. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's Rage in the Cage night on Monday Night Raw. What's good, Hassan? Yeah, you can't do that. Like, it just doesn't work, brother. Like, you do that, you crush the concept eventually.
It makes it stale. And it eliminates the purity of it all, which is why I'm really excited about what WWE is doing. Again, I'm giving credit where credit is due. They have built this CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre match the right way. It should be the main event. For those of you that don't know, Conrad got the scoop. It looks to me like, Drew and CM Punk are actually going to open up the pay-per-view Saturday evening. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Unless the main event's got something super crazy planned.
But see,
Cody
as much as I like Jimmy Uso and as much as I like Paul Heyman, if that's the big reveal, that's still not worthy to me of trumping whatchamacallit.
Cody teased something on Pat McAfee. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I don't like Cody Rhodes. What did he say?
He said basically that something is going to be teased, like it was a video or something's going to happen at the show, basically that
Yeah,
you're not going to want to miss.
Yeah, I don't like Cody Rhodes, and I don't believe a word he says because he's somebody who lied to Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and now he's teaming up with Roman Reigns, their mortal enemy. I think that's very upsetting.
Copy. You got a question in the chat from our good friend Jocelyn.
Jocelyn in the building. Appreciate you, my dear. Shout out to you. She said, yo, what's the tag to use for merch hubs? My shirt is here. Oh, my goodness. First of all, I'm humbled and appreciative of that, and I will put it into the chat right now. That is very kind of you. Thank you so much. Conrad, talk to the people right quick while I type this in.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't agree with I think the Hell in a Cell should main event. I think Punk and Drew have carried. I've told people I think SmackDown's kind of been boo-boo for this show, and we're talking about cage matches here, and isn't that what the build for this has been all about? Is this big return? Like, I feel like this is the return to have Hell in a Cell mean something again, and Punk said it, I believe, on O'Shea Jackson's podcast, Ice Cube's son, and I apologize to his co-host, but I know O'Shea Jackson's on the podcast, and it's on some network now with, I think it was Rich Einstein. I don't know who, I forgot who's hosting it, but they're on there, and Punk's like, I feel a lot of pressure right now that I have to make this mean something again. And Punk talked about the same thing that I said. I don't like where you just did it every month. He said, yeah, I thought it was ridiculous that we used to do that. Like, that, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Like I said, it just turns something that's really special and important into something that's just commonplace, you know? I mean, even back in the day, Emily was making mention of it earlier about how Kane and Mankind had a Hell in a Cell match on Raw. But it was still dope, though. They still made it special. It still felt like it meant something. Now it's like Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber. It's all kind of like meshed together. But like I said, hopefully Saturday afternoon, they make this thing mean something because it definitely has been a good build. And they're bringing it back to Hell in a Cell being the what's the word I'm looking for? Conrad, help me out. The culmination of a storyline, right? Yeah. Which is what it should be. Now, I would be remiss. I didn't even tell you about this in pre-production, Conrad. I would be remiss. Let me start by saying, God rest his soul. God rest his soul. We love you, Bray. Bray versus Seth in the Red Hell.
Worst match ever. Someone clipped our rant from that show, Sean, and they will bring it up every once in a while when there's a Hell in a Cell, and they'll say, yo, do you remember when you and Derek went off about this? And I was like, well, that was Derek doing all that cussing, but that match was bad. It was bad, and Derek's a huge Bray Wyatt fan, so he went off. He said, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
A match, Conrad, I know I'm preaching to the choir, just bear with me. A match that is no DQ, no count out, no rules, was stopped for excessive violence. What in the world was going on? Now, I'm just gonna do this just for you know what's and giggles. Chat, I want you to put in the chat right now, scale of 1 to 10. Seth versus Bray, Hell in a Cell 2019. Rate that match 1 to 10. For me, it's a 0. Literally a 0. And by the way, a really bad stain on Bray's career, God rest his soul, and on Seth's career. A really bad stain. I'm sure they even regret the fact that they were involved in that match.
Yeah. 100%.
Just unbelievable. So look, Conrad, there's nothing like a special attraction in the world of professional wrestling, right? We enjoy it, we appreciate it, but at the same time, it's a situation where now you have the ladder match, more specifically Money in the Bank being a little bit meh. You know, Hell in a Cell has been a little bit meh since it became a pay-per-view. Elimination Chamber has been a little bit meh since. I mean, we've gone from like Triple H backdropping Cactus Jack through the top of the cell to like what we saw with Seth and Bray. Like, it's like something needs to change. But we are in a position on Saturday night. What that leads me now, Conrad, and I want you to kind of take the reins a little bit. What do you want to talk about now? Because now I was hoping we would transition into the current state of War Games and how WWE seems to have gotten that right so far. But is there anything that you want to bring up?
I was thinking maybe we could get into like our best and favorites of like the different cage matches and stuff. I don't know if we mentioned like what's your favorite match in Big Blue of all time? Like when you think Big Blue, what's your go-to match? Like this is the best if you want to watch a great cage match.
Well, it's funny you said the best because in that match that I consider best Big Blue match of all time, it was the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, going up against, as Gorilla Monsoon, God rest his soul, always called him, which was hilarious, the Rocket King, Owen Hart. The wrong guy won, right? A wrong guy won, but a fantastic match. And this was when they did things smartly. There was a winner, Conrad. There was a winner, and then a schmaz. Not a schmaz that stopped you from getting a winner. For those of you that don't know, make sure you check out the network, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. Bret Hart, Owen Hart, brother versus brother. Owen had just come off the WrestleMania win against his brother. Owen had just come off aligning himself with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Bret Hart's former partner, to win King of the Ring. It led to a title match in a cage at SummerSlam, the first ever televised event from Chicago's United Center Arena. And it was basically a situation where Owen Hart barely lost, and after Owen Hart lost, the entire family, including a returning British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, and the rest of the Hart family, jumped inside the cage and had a massive brawl that was actually awesome for 8-year-old Sean to watch. So I would say Bret versus Owen. What say you?
Bret versus Owen would be my same answer. I'm gonna run through some of the other classics. I know Legault had mentioned Dudley's Hardys. Mm-hmm. That's one that I think that's up there.
Was that Big Blue? Now check this out. I'm gonna make you laugh. Was that Big Blue or was that Big Black?
No, they had
Big
the
Black
mesh.
Too, remember they had the Big Black?
Yeah, that was Vince and Stone Cold when.
Okay.
He threw Austin through the cage. Should have fired him then.
It's Paul White. Oh, you mean the Giant? Okay, now we know what his name is. Great.
Right. They wanted to show his strength, and they had him throw him through. Yeah. I'm trying to think of some sleeper ones. I do love Triple H Mankind. That was Big Blue at SummerSlam.
Yes, it
where
was.
Where he rips the shirt, then he's got like the Dude Love Heart on it, and
he had kind of the Dude Love Heart on.
It sweated off a little. Yeah. Mick is Mick, man. That's all you can say. But they've gotta love him,
and they did a good job. Yes.
I like Who We Shall Not Speak Of and Kurt Angle. Mm-hmm. That's another classic one. But that's the mesh cage. Punk and Jeff. I'm just looking up a list right here just to remember some of these. Oh, Diesel, Bret Hart, another classic. Where they built up the match between Diesel and Undertaker. I'll never forget it, where the ring opens and the smoke comes through, that he pulls them down right into there. Beautiful.
Shout out to Clown, -13 on the DQ Hell in a Cell. And McKinney, take it to a step further. He says, we in the McKinney wrestling household do not even mention or recognize the match in which you seek. So I respect it, brother.
Oh, that's why people forget these.
Dougie, I'm working here.
Yeah, Bret and Diesel, love it. Warrior Rick Rude's another classic.
Where the wrong guy won.
Well,
you know what? From a storyline perspective, you'd probably say Warrior should have won. Rick Rude should have been world champion. Do not get me started.
Simply ravishing.
Ow!
Yeah, those are some classic cage matches.
To my recollection, do not quote me on this. Do your own research, Conrad. Do your own research, chat. The first ever superplex off the top of the cage. Big Boss Man and Hogan.
Yes.
Which was a big move at the time. So that was huge. Undertaker and Brock Lesnar. Hell in a Cell was a big one.
What pay-per-view was that?
No Mercy.
Okay.
No Mercy 2002. That was just before Brock would turn babyface after Paul Heyman turned on him at the Survivor Series.
I always forget which one was the chain match and then which one was that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. Like, I actually enjoyed. You're gonna laugh at this one, Conrad. I actually enjoyed Triple H versus Jericho at Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. That was the Cell, right?
Yeah.
Every time people mention that one, that's like one that I don't remember, so I know I didn't see that live. So
yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, it got overshadowed by Hogan and Taker for the title, but I mean, for good and bad reasons, right? But I enjoyed it. But look, as we get ready to wrap this thing up, man, we want to thank you guys for being here. We wanted to make sure Hubbard is supposed to be 20 minutes or less, but this is a special, so we wanted to go 40 minutes or less. So we're somewhere in that ballpark. But big shout out to M. Leezy for Sheezy, because he brings up one of the matches that I don't know if it was good, bad, or in the middle. Like, it was Hogan, Flair, Halloween Havoc. Hogan's career was on the line. Flair's career was on the line. The title was on the line. Mr. T was in the building. They
all lied.
It was just like, I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know. The reveal of Brother Brutai as the Masked Man was kind of like, to me, ho-hum.
Yeah.
Like, and one of the biggest, I know we're not talking about this, but we are talking about it because it's our show. We do what we want. Brutus Beefcake, the Butcher, whatever his name is.
The Zodiac.
Being the main event of Starrcade. Main event of Starrcade, Conrad. I'm going to say it again. The Butcher, Brutus Beefcake, the main event of Starrcade. If you want to talk, I mean, I know they're not blood related, but if you want to talk nepotism, Lord have mercy. Like, being Hogan's friend could get you anything. Anything.
Was he the first person to main event? Well, him and Hogan would have simultaneously done this. First person to main event WrestleMania and Starrcade.
Well, WrestleMania.
We're gonna count WrestleMania 2. He was the main event in one of the cities.
Oh no, that's a reach. That's a reach. You know what I would have given you? I would have given you WrestleMania 9 because they were one half of the double main event. No, but
that tag match.
Either one was pretty freaking awful. But listen, as we get ready to wrap up, man, we want to thank everybody.
Can I add one more to Matt's? Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks. I don't think people give that one enough credit to. I think that won match of the year one year in our old EPW awards.
And you know what I also want to give a shout out to? I want to give a shout out to Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. I thought that's the match that put Jungle Boy on the map. I know Jungle Boy is kind of a sensitive subject, but for all you CM Punk fans out there,
I'm good with it. I
hope so.
We got the opening. We got the opening of this show. I mean, don't wonder why something happens 10 months from now. And you're like, man, why is that guy so upset? Remember these little things where Conrad's like, asterisk, you're making him mad. Why are you doing this? But
let me tell you something. Let's get a little bit into Bad Blood, okay? Guys, there's just no logical let's just be real, okay? There's no logical reason under the sun that this match that I admit WWE has built perfectly. And that's a major compliment from me coming about WWE because I'm not a big fan of World Wrestling Entertainment. The match that has been built perfectly. Hell in a Cell, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. The feud that has made me start to like Drew McIntyre. Remember what I used to say about Drew McIntyre? He's boring. I'm starting to come around on this guy, right? But anyway, my point is this. In what world does it make sense for the best match of the pay-per-view as it relates to storyline and the signature match of the pay-per-view being the opening match and having Roman Reigns team with Cody Rhodes to team up with Solo and Jacob Fatu be the main event?
They got to have a surprise, bro. I'm telling you, Cody was talking too arrogantly.
What, is Kane going to come back and rip there's no cage in the main event? They're going to rip the ropes apart?
I don't think he's going to rip the ropes, but I do think something's going to happen. What that is, I have zero clue. Maybe, to me, like I said, if you're doing this Bloodline Civil War games, you got to start this at this show. If they don't have anything at this point, I don't think it's happening. I personally think it's going to be like Cody, Kevin, Randy, and maybe Jay. Maybe they can get Jay or one or two other people
Well, we
to
don't
join
need
them.
Jay yet. We don't need Jay yet, by the way.
I-
We don't need Jay yet. We just need Jimmy. Let's get this thing started a little bit, right? We don't need to jump to Jay.
You don't, but I'm saying they need another partner still, and I don't know who
Okay.
fits into that story with them. But like you said, did Jimmy get assigned in the draft? Why am I even asking this like it matters? Like,
It doesn't.
okay.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Because when Jay mysteriously shows up on SmackDown with the Intercontinental Championship, it's not going to matter. Or without, by the way. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, unless they send like someone to be a mole or a plant, maybe Tala Tonga or Hikuleo is on the other side, but then it's a plant. I don't know.
Well, all that and more as we will review that. Hopefully epic pay-per-view. This coming Monday, 6:05 on the Everything Pro Wrestling channel. We want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in tonight. And we are very proud because behind the scenes, as we have been having this wonderful conversation and analysis with you guys, we have been determining a winner of the Hubbanomics Clash of the Podcast giveaway. So we want to give a big congratulations to Hey, Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. Dougie, aka Doug V, you are the winner, man. You are the winner of the AEW Wrestle Dream, Hubbard Wrestling Weekly, Everything Pro Wrestling, Clash of the Podcast, Triller TV contest, man. All jokes aside, we are really excited to present you with this. We thank each and every one of you guys for watching. Doug, you are the winner. Just if you don't mind, put your email address in the chat right now so I can reach out to you and I can send you the code, man. So congratulations, man. We're really fortunate to have such a wonderful fan base, and that's the reason why we scratch and claw to get these codes for these pay-per-views so we can bless you guys for coming out and listening to our show, man. Conrad, what else you got for the people, man?
I know Clash of the Podcast, you mentioned that we will be probably taking an overview of what happens at Bad Blood. And then we'll also probably have a little Wrestle Dream preview. I don't think we have all the matches quite yet, but we've got a few that we could probably get into. We'll talk about it. We might even get into the AEW WBD deal. I want to kind of get Sean's thoughts on that, but Sean needs to put on the business legal glasses and get into this and just tell us what he thinks of it, because we were having some good back and forth, I thought, in the chat on Wednesday.
Almost definitely.
Wednesday we'll have another, I lied, not Wednesday. Tuesday this week we will be having a Title Tuesday Dynamite review, because I believe it's tis the season to get bumped on TBS for sports. So we'll have Title Tuesday going on. So it'll be Dynamite going up against NXT. I do like that Dynamite was like, we'll go at 9 instead. We'll start 9 to 11 just to avoid some of the hassle there. So good.
Well, listen, also, before you go, Doug, matter of fact, change your heart. Just do me a favor. Just send either Conrad or myself a DM or a direct message on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll send it to you there. Yeah, that'll just be a little bit easier. But yes, Joel, we will be watching Wrestle Dream. Big shout out to Triller TV and those guys over there putting on another great show. AEW's been really killing it lately. Hopefully they keep it going. Jocelyn and Clown, thank you guys so much for the merch love. I mean, also, there's been just so much kindness when it comes to the merch. And I really put my heart and soul into this merch, man. Like the merch, I think I'm going to become the Clash of the Podcast merch guy. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to everybody out there, man. Conrad, I appreciate you, my brother. We're keeping this momentum going.
We are. We're gonna keep things moving, keep things happening. You guys keep supporting, man. We appreciate every super chat, every money spent on merch. It means a lot. It gets our name out there, and it's a great way to help support us. Hitting the like button, also a great way to help support us. Subscribing, leaving those 5-star reviews on the audio versions of these.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we appreciate you, Conrad. Appreciate you, chat. Everybody have a wonderful evening. My name is Sean. His name is Conrad. We are Clash of the Podcast. This has been a special presentation of Clash of the Podcast presents Hubbonomics, Word Life. This is basic Hubbonomics. We will see you at 6:05 Eastern Standard Time for Clash of the Podcast on Monday night. God bless. Be encouraged. Evil never prevails. Peace.